Have you ever seen a stock get completely destroyed and then suddenly start showing signs of life again after everyone already gave up on it? Because that is exactly what's happening with a tiny biotech company most investors are ignoring right now. And the crazy part is, this company already has an FDA-approved product, an AI angle, and a massive catalyst that could completely change the story around the stock. Most people only focus on giant AI companies worth billions of dollars, but some traders are quietly looking for tiny, overlooked stocks that could explode from even a small wave of momentum. And today we're talking about one company that may be setting up for one of the wildest biotech comeback stories nobody is paying attention to right now. Before we get there, you need to understand why this setup is getting attention from speculative traders and why biotech stocks can move completely differently from normal companies once a major catalyst hits, because one FDA decision alone can sometimes change everything overnight. We've seen small biotech stocks jump hundreds of percent in just days after positive news, and usually by the time most retail investors notice, the move has already started, which is why experienced traders constantly watch beaten-down biotech names for signs of unusual activity before the crowd finally catches on. The company we're talking about today is not some random startup with no products, because this business already has an FDA-approved treatment on the market, and that alone separates it from most speculative penny stocks. But despite having an approved product, the stock still collapsed brutally and investors have started abandoning it fast. So what exactly went wrong? Well, the company struggled badly with commercialization. Revenue disappointed investors and confidence slowly started falling apart, while concerns around cash burn and long-term survival pushed even more traders away from the stock, creating a massive sell-off that completely destroyed momentum. Then things became even worse because controversy started building around clinical trial conduct and data-related concerns, which only added more fear into the market. And when biotech investors lose confidence, things can get ugly very quickly, especially for companies with small market caps and high volatility. The stock price crashed, retail traders disappeared, and many people assumed the company was basically finished. But lately something very interesting has started happening behind the scenes, because speculative traders are beginning to watch this stock again very closely as a possible turnaround opportunity. Now here's where things start getting really interesting, because this company also markets itself as an AI-driven biotech business using artificial intelligence and machine learning in drug development. And in today's market, almost anything connected to AI immediately grabs investor attention, especially if the company is still relatively unknown. The company focuses heavily on neuroscience and treatments connected to agitation disorders and mental health-related conditions, which is a massive healthcare market. And according to some analysts, if commercialization improves, the company's opportunity could become significantly larger than many investors currently expect. But again, there's a reason this stock became so beaten down, because investors were disappointed by weak financial performance and concerns started growing about whether the company could continue funding operations without raising additional capital, which is always a major fear for biotech shareholders. That fear of dilution is one of the biggest reasons many investors still avoid this stock completely. But at the same time, fear is exactly what creates these speculative opportunities, because when expectations become extremely low, even small positive developments can shock the market and trigger powerful rallies. Now think about this for a second, because some of the biggest stock market moves happen when nobody believes in a company anymore, and when sentiment becomes completely negative. Even one good announcement can suddenly change the narrative faster than people expect. This company still has catalysts ahead, and that's exactly why traders are paying attention again, because if upcoming regulatory developments go in the company's favor, momentum could return very quickly, especially considering how small the company's market cap still is compared to larger healthcare businesses. And now, after all of that build-up, the stock we're talking about today is Biotech Therapeutics, ticker symbol BTAI, which has become one of the more controversial speculative biotech plays in the market, because some traders believe it could stage a comeback, while others think the risks are simply too high. Biotech Therapeutics already has an FDA-approved treatment called IGALMI, and many investors believe the bigger opportunity could come from broader use cases and possible expansion opportunities in the future, especially involving at-home treatment possibilities that traders are watching very closely. That upcoming regulatory potential is one reason why some speculative investors still see upside in BTAI, despite all the risks surrounding the company, because if regulators eventually support broader adoption, the commercial opportunity could become much larger than the market currently expects. Another thing making this stock interesting is how small the company still is, because tiny biotech stocks can become extremely volatile once momentum returns, and when social media, retail traders, and short covering all hit at the same time, things can move unbelievably fast in either direction. Now, obviously, this is not a safe investment at all because the risks here are very real, including continued losses, cash burn, commercialization struggles, and the possibility of future dilution, which means investors need to understand this is a highly speculative setup, not a stable long-term blue-chip company. But speculative traders are not always looking for safe investments, because many of them specifically search for asymmetrical opportunities where a beaten down stock trading near the bottom could potentially multiply if the company manages to survive and deliver positive catalysts. That's why BTAI keeps appearing on trader watch lists, because it combines biotech volatility, AI-related attention, and potential FDA catalysts all into one tiny stock, and that combination alone is enough to attract momentum traders looking for explosive setups before the broader market notices. Now imagine this scenario for a moment: positive FDA momentum appears, the stock starts trending, online retail traders rush back in, and short sellers begin covering positions all at the same time, because that type of momentum chain reaction is exactly how tiny biotech stocks sometimes explode upward very quickly. But of course, there's another possible scenario where commercialization struggles continue, dilution fears grow, and the company fails to regain investor confidence, which is why opinions on this stock remain completely divided depending on how people view the company's future catalysts and risks. One thing that keeps speculation alive is the fact that despite all the problems, this company is still pushing forward, still pursuing expansion opportunities, and still trying to improve commercialization efforts, which means the story isn't over yet, and as long as the story continues, traders will keep watching. Now, does that guarantee success? Absolutely not, because this stock still carries serious risks, and investors should understand that clearly, but at the same time, the possibility of major upside is exactly why speculative traders continue monitoring BTAI so closely, despite all the uncertainties surrounding the company. So when you look at the full picture, Biotech Therapeutics becomes one of those stocks where almost everything depends on future execution, because if the company delivers positive developments, sentiment could completely shift, but if problems continue, the downside risk remains very real. At the end of the day, this is a high-risk, high-reward speculative biotech stock with an FDA-approved product and AI-driven narrative and major catalysts still ahead, which is exactly why some traders believe it could become one of the more interesting turnaround stories in the biotech sector. Now, I want to hear your opinion, because do you think Biotech Therapeutics ticker BTAI has real comeback potential, or do you think the risks are simply too high to justify the speculation? And as always, make sure you do your own research before investing in any highly volatile biotech stock. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for the next video, because tomorrow we're covering another hidden stock most retail investors still aren't paying attention to, and trust me, the next setup might be even crazier than this one.